嗨，大家好，欢迎继续收看我的视频。今天继续跟大家分享我跟我先生外出旅游的一个片段，只是为了给大家介绍我们返回途中没有去的一个地方。这就是介于旧金山和洛杉矶之间的一个叫圣西门的地方。这是一个富人的庄园。我先生给我做了简单的介绍，但是我们因为没有时间，所以就没有去参观。
Newspapers were owned by very rich, very powerful people, and one of those was William Randolph Hearst. And I guess we're not going to be able to see it from the road anyway. Somewhere up there. Yeah, somewhere up there is a giant house. Back at this time, there were no laws or anything. There were no rules about what you could print in the newspaper. So even a regular, well-respected newspaper would sometimes print just flat-out lies to sell papers. And since they were the only source of news in town, everyone believed them. Especially on things that were not local, things that were national and international. It was easy to lie because local people couldn't check. And it was a period of what they called yellow journalism, where the newspapers made up stories or exaggerated stories that A, helped sell papers, and B, helped the financial interest of the people who owned the papers. So there was a small war called the Spanish-American War. And basically the reasons for the Spanish-American War were completely made up by the newspaper. But got everybody excited, and they wrote to their congressmen and senators and said, we have to do something about this. And we had a war only because the people who wrote for the newspaper were told by their bosses, you must write this story. And the country went to war over it. And William Randolph Hearst was one of the worst of this. He owned several big newspapers, and people trusted his newspapers. And he got the country to go to war. Not only did that sell more newspapers, but it made lots of money for him. And he built a giant house, a castle actually. He built a castle up on that hill back there where we were trying to see. And then in the that was way back in the early 1900s. And then in the 1960s, his granddaughter or great-granddaughter was actually kidnapped by a group of terrorists. Her name was Patty Hearst. And she was kidnapped by these terrorists who held her for several months. And while they held her, they talked to her about how this country, and in fact most of the world, is operated by the rich people. And the rich people decide what the news is, and the rich people decide what people need to know, and the rich people make decisions for the whole rest of the world to make themselves richer. And after being held against her will for months, she began to believe them. And she actually joined these terrorists. And she was actually caught on video being part of bank robberies that the terrorists used to get money and to get attention. And eventually she was caught, and she was considered to be a victim some other, marry the young man of some other rich family, I don't remember who, and went on to live sort of a normal life. But nobody knew of this great-granddaughter of William Randolph Hearst until she was kidnapped. Then it was all news. But that's why people come to see what's called the Hearst Castle.
Wow, that house still in there.
Yeah, it's somewhere up there on the hill.
Wow. Wow, she built a house at there.
She didn't.
Oh,
Her great-grandfather did.
Oh. She's being a terrorist.
For a while.
Oh, you said she enjoying with the terrorists.
Not enjoyed. She joined the terrorists. She was actually one of the terrorists for a while. They convinced her to be a terrorist.
Maybe rich people very bored.
Well, it had nothing to do with being bored. She was kidnapped against her will. She was taken. She was stolen. And after months and months of being told, look, this is what's going on, this is what's going on, they brainwashed her.
Yeah.
They convinced her that their way was right.
Yes.
And after she was out, she finally got back to, okay, what? I did those, oh my God.
Oh my God. That is bad story.